When Indiana Jones gear comes together, it really comes together. Hello, my fellow Raiders, Doomers, Crusaders, Mutts, and Fivers. It is I, Nathan, back again with another Indiana Jones cosplay video. Today's video is very exciting because over the last couple of months, I have been collecting a lot of really wonderful pieces of gear. However, I haven't been able to fully articulate my feelings for them in individual videos. So I decided that once everything had been collected, because I was still waiting for some pieces in the mail, once everything had been collected, that I would just do one big gear and artifact video for your entertainment. That way you don't need to click on individual videos, and if you want, you can skip to a certain chapter to jump right into the action. So, without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Okay, so the last time that you saw me in this backdrop, I was talking about all of my Indiana Jones gear, and I mean every last piece of my Indiana Jones gear. It's crazy to think that in less than a year, I have upgraded almost 100% of everything I was wearing in that video. Now granted, there are some carryover items, but what they are very small. I mean, doing a side-by-side comparison, you can see that my Raiders alone has changed drastically. And that's the main thing that I want to talk about. So, what stayed the same and what hasn't? Let's get straight into it. Firstly, my fedora is still my Fedora Raiders. Still one of my favorite hats. Still one of the best hats on market for Raiders that isn't an vintage. My shirt is still What Price Glory, but a better size. It fits more comfortably and doesn't bunch up as much as the older size does. I've noticed that with What Price shirts, they tend to shrink a bit when you wash them, so be careful and try to learn the best methods of washing a shirt so that it doesn't shrink. The strap is still also What Price Glory, but the bag that it's attached to is different. This also came from What Price Glory, but it is not one of their replicas. This is an original Mark 7 gas mask bag, and I love it. It's a beautiful color. It has a semi-long, kind of a nice middle loop, so not perfect for Raiders, but pretty good for everything else. The color, though, is spectacular. My belts are still very much the same. A nice surplus web belt and my Amazon Fine belt. The pants and the boots, though, those are different. The pants that I'm wearing are not the Croft and Borrow pants that I had less than a year ago. These are my newly acquired Soldier of Fortune World War II Officer Pink trousers. Now, while they're not 100% accurate to Indy's pants, as Indy's pants, while also being in the officer style, are pleated and have a little bit of a different back flap. These still get across that they're Indy's pants. Anyhow, the color is fantastic for Raiders. These pants are a 46, and I think the length is a 34. I definitely need to get them hemmed, as they tend to drag. But they only need, like, I want to say 3-4 inches of hemming. That's it. Other than that, the way that these fit are incredibly comfortable. I wore them to Ren Fair last weekend, and while it was warm, I was not dying in these like with the lightweight What Price pants. Now, I know that the Wested pants tend to be the ones that most people go for as they're the best, but unfortunately the reason I had to order these was due to the fact that Wested was out of stock in almost every single pair of pants except 36. Man, I miss being a size 36 waist. But that's not important. The boots I'm wearing are not the Bostonians that I had last time. No, I am rocking some beautiful Wested Alden replicas. I'll do a close-up and I will talk about these boots in just a minute. What I want to talk about are the two pieces, actually 3 pieces I should say, that I have yet to mention. The 3 pieces that have changed the most since last time I stood here. That's my jacket, my holster, and the pistol within the holster. Now, the holster is not what I had on before. Neither is the pistol inside, but I do have them on hand. This is what I was rocking with before. So, for a little bit of background, this holster was created by a gentleman on eBay and was found and purchased by our favorite honorary California Jones and Colorado Jones native, Trent Ryan. I think this is the second one he built. If memory serves, he only made 4 of these, and then up and vanished like a fart in the wind. but leaving behind some really gorgeous leather work. As I said, if memory serves, he only made 3 or 4 of these, and they got exceptionally better as he went along. I think this is the second, but it has a really beautiful Raiders color to it. The leather is very soft and stout, but as you can see, it has very much a Webley kind of silhouette to it. It still technically is a Raiders holster because it holds my 3D printed Smith & Wesson really well. This beautiful piece was made by my good friend and fellow California Jonesian, Connor Grewal. He 3D printed this and gifted it to me at, I think, our December meetup of last year. If I'm incorrect about that, Connor, please correct me. But yeah, this is just a fantastic piece. It looks great. He painted this. He constructed it, he painted it, and I love it. And I've been rocking around with this since I got it. So the holster is a Todd's Costumes, a very old Todd's Costumes, and I can't tell you how much that excites me because I remember when I was really getting into the indie gear community, I said that I was going to get all of my leather stuff from Todd's Costumes. Bag strap, belt, whip holder, holster. That never happened. But now I have a Todd's Costumes holster, and I cannot tell you how excited I am. I know I already said that, but it bears repeating. This is kind of a full circle moment for me. But the pistol inside is what I'm most excited to talk about. And that, my good friends, is a gorgeous Smith & Wesson resin model. Or as we call it in the indie community, the Smith & Resin. Thank you, Morgan Law, for coming up with that one. This is made by a seller, or was made, I should say. I don't know if he's still around, but this was made by a seller on Etsy who had, if memory serves, an actual 1917 hand ejector Smith & Wesson that he molded to make this beautiful, perfect piece. Now, there is only one small piece on this beautiful resin Smith & Wesson that is inaccurate, and that is the sight post. The sight post, and I'll come up here to the camera so you can see it, the sight post is the original sight post, what you would have actually seen on the hand ejector 1917 model. What it should look like, and I'll pull out the 3D printed pistol from Connor. What the sight post should look like is this. So as you can see, yeah, those are 2 different sight posts. So it should look like this, as that's the sight post that the Raiders pistol had. And this very clearly indicates that this was one of the earlier models that this Etsy seller made. But I still love it. It's fantastic. It feels great in hand. It looks great in hand. Also, holding 2 of these makes me want to do some Rick O'Connell mummy shit. But yeah, this is fantastic, and I am very happy to finally add Smith & Resin to my gear loadout. So, I'm sure some of you have been sitting at home wondering if this is a Wested or a Steel & Jones or whatnot. It's not either of those. It is actually something that became recently discontinued and kind of breaks my heart, as this is a really beautiful jacket that a lot of people should have been able to get their hands on. This is a US Wings Signature Series Raiders of the Lost Ark jacket in Kangaroo hide. Yes, Kangaroo hide. This is by far one of the lightest, softest, and most comfortable Indiana Jones jackets I have ever owned. And I still can't believe that this piece is actually within my collection. I'm going to give a quick turnaround so you can see all the details. But it's my best fitting jacket. Again, it's my most comfortable jacket. The color is spectacular. There's a lot of gradients on this that I don't think the camera picks up. But it just, no matter the lighting, it looks spectacular. It looks delicious. It's super soft, but it keeps me warm in cold weather, and does really well in hot weather, actually. As I said, I was wearing this to the Irwindale Ren Fair last weekend, and having worked that for 2 years, I can tell you where it's located gets real hot real easy, and I was barely breaking a sweat wearing this thing all day. I did not need to take it off once, and I am still incredibly impressed by that. The liner is just this very beautiful silky polyester. Yeah, the pockets are nice and big like a Raiders jacket should be. I love, honestly, one of my favorite parts, especially when I'm doing my Raiders gear, is to zip up the jacket to have a Raven bar kind of look to it. Yeah. Does this or does this not scream Raiders of the Lost Ark? This is a perfect jacket, and again, I am so very brokenhearted to know that this particular jacket has been discontinued by US Wings because they recently made a contract deal with Lucasfilm to make officially licensed Indiana Jones jackets. So with that, I think it's time that I actually get to talking about the boots, because I've been meaning to talk about these Wested since December of last year, and I didn't. Firstly, I will say, always go for your size. Wested is really good about explaining the size chart and how English sizes differ from American sizes and the like. I got a standard pair of 13s as I am a 13 sized boot. Yes, I have a very big foot. And these are incredibly comfortable. Now, I will say that when they were fresh out of the box, because I bought these on eBay from a seller who had worn them for like less than a couple weeks, or no, he had bought the wrong size, so they were never worn. So these are as fresh, or they were as fresh could be, as though I ordered from Wested directly. They're tight to begin with. They are very tight boots, so you really need to break them in. But once you have worn these around for several months, I've made these my everyday shoes. I'm gonna be very honest. These are now my everyday boots, and I love wearing them because they have become extremely comfortable because they have formed completely to my foot. Honestly, they're worth every penny because these are excellent boots, especially for not just cosplay, but everyday wear. These are really great. If I could change one thing, it would be the cork sole. While the cork sole is accurate to Indiana Jones, they have no grip whatsoever on slippery surfaces. So you're basically gonna go ice skating if ever you find yourself on a slippery surface. So if you have a chance to switch out the soles to like low profile commando lugs, highly recommend it. Other than that, these boots get very much like a 9.5 out of 10. If it weren't for the slippery cork soles, these would be a straight 10 out of 10. The comfort is fantastic. The color is beautiful. And overall, just the construction is really nice. I've worn a lot of boots in my time, from replica Second World War boots to your standard Payless ankle boot. These really kind of take the cake in construction, in quality, in comfort, and they're certainly a lot more cheaper than getting an actual pair of 403 or 405 Aldens. So a handful of the audience will wonder why I changed gear. Another handful of the audience will be excited that I'm in the gear I'm best known for, Last Crusade. And the reason I've decided to throw on this gear is there are two pieces of my Last Crusade loadout that I have yet to fully speak on. One of which, because I only received it today, the day of which I'm recording this video. And it is this glorious, glorious bag strap, which was a belated birthday present from my brother from another mother, fellow honorary California Jones, and a Colorado Jones, Kirk Brockman. Thank you, bud. I've been after a proper Last Crusade bag strap for the longest time because, as you've seen in a lot of my videos whenever I'm doing Last Crusade, I've had a Raiders strap on, and that's not really accurate. But now, I don't need to worry about it. This glorious, glorious Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull bag strap, because they're the same from TOD onward. This wonderful bag strap was made by the very, very talented hands of Roger Case at Spade Archer Leather, as was this holster, but they were not ordered at the same time. For those of you who have followed me for the longest time, you'll know that I've had this Spade Archer holster for a good hot minute. I actually received this at the beginning of 2022, if memory serves correctly. It came with the eBay holster from Trent. Shocker of shockers, I also got this from Trent. But yeah, so I got the eBay holster and I got this, and I've only been using this a lot recently, like in the last couple months or so, because for some odd reason my brain was like, oh, well, my Webley fits better in the eBay holster, so I'll just use that as my Last Crusade holster, which is stupid, because this is literally a Webley holster based on Temple of Doom and Last Crusade, and it's made by Roger Case of Spade Archer Leather. This is a great holster. This is a perfect holster. I don't know why I was being stupid. Thanks for beating some sense into me, Trent. But I love it. It holds my Webley really, really well. This is also from Trent. Now this Webley is based off the standard Webley, not the Webley green like what we see in Last Crusade. But this is accurate to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, as Indy does carry a standard Mark IV Webley. So, Denix, in case you were wondering. This is a Denix revolver. I love it, but it still fits in this Webley holster extremely well, and it does the job. And it's just a damn good made replica. And so is this holster. There's a lot of really wonderful detail work that I'll get in a close-up. Roger always puts some really fantastic touches to every single piece that he works on. So every piece is individual while also being screen accurate, and I love it. And this strap is no exception. I will get nice and close so you can see this wonderful, wonderful buckle, because the buckle on the Raiders bag strap and the TOD onward bag strap are not the same. The Raiders buckle tends to be just like this perfect rounded square, as to where the TOD LC still has kind of that square shape, but it is also lightly bent inward and has this wonderful roller on the top. Look at this gorgeous, gorgeous leather, though. Ugh. I absolutely adore. Those are my two pieces from my Last Crusade gear that I don't talk about enough. And now I have, and I feel better about it, and I'm just so happy that I have two excellent pieces of TOD LC gear from Roger of Spade Archer, because to me, Roger is a really, really wonderful maker. Unfortunately, at the recording of this video, he has temporarily closed up shop, but we wish him well, and again, we await his return. I almost forgot that I also have a different whip on my hip, and you probably haven't seen it because it's been covered up by the satchel, but I have a new whip as well. I can't believe I almost forgot that. I'm just so used to having my Joe Strain hanging off me that this, I feel bad, because this was also something I got from Trent. It was an add-on when I had purchased these. But this is a 10-foot nylon Raiders style bullwhip. It's my first 10-footer, and to be quite honest, this handles extremely well. Trent put on this really nice cracker that gives it a very hollow crack, which is very refreshing for me because my Joe Strain is quick and it's loud. So to have something that I need to finesse a little bit more and that has a little bit more of a subdued crack, again, very refreshing. And I love it, and it looks great when I connect it to my hip, even though the neighborhood dog seems to disagree. We have now moved inside so we can start talking about the relics of Indiana Jones that I have come to collect. But before I do that, in the previous section I mentioned that I'm always used to my Joe Strain being on my hip, so that's why I almost forgot about the new one that I had. Well, this is that whip for those of you who've never seen it. This is my gorgeous 1995 American-style Joe Strain bullwhip. It's one of my favorites, and it was my first real all-leather kangaroo hide bullwhip. It's glorious. And when Trent pointed out to me that it was a dead ringer for the trailer whip we see for Indiana Jones 5, I knew I had to get a replica holder for it. So I commissioned one from him. That's right, Trent Ryan builds whip holders. It's not a very common thing, but when he does, they're pretty fantastic, at least in my eyes. I have several from him. I have this one that's holding up my mini Indy from Paul Nolan. I have this one over here that's holding my 12-footer from a very good friend of mine. I have the replica Crease and Corral, which is always on my hip. I have a Last Crusade style double wrap, which is made by Trent, that is holding up my young Indy bullwhip by Torrance Fisher of Sword Guy Builds. And then there is this one, my Indy 5 replica whip holder. This is very well made. As you can see, is in a gorgeous chocolate, dark chocolate brown with brass accents in the snap. I commissioned this from Trent earlier this year, and I cannot tell you how excited I was when I received it. Now, this is really good craftsmanship. When I took this thing out of the envelope, I wore it on my belt with my whip in it for a solid hour, and this thing did not move. I always like my whip holders to be double wraps because I feel that that's a little bit more secure for the whip. But this single wrap is magic. So, thanks again, bud. Now, behind me, as you can see here, is a shelf of Indiana Jones memorabilia. I cannot wait to share with you the relics that are on this thing because, well, I'm a prop replica man first, and a cosplayer second. So, to begin things off, is this. The headpiece to the Staff of Ra. Probably one of my favorite props from Indiana Jones. This is made by Dark Matter Props. I think I already said that before, but in case not, this is my Dark Matter Props headpiece to the Staff of Ra. This is one of his older models. His newer pieces are far more screen accurate and have actual jewels in the middle. But this was one of my first pieces that I collected in April of 2021, if I remember correctly. And I just love it. I love seeing it on my shelf. I love carrying it around in my satchel. And really, this is just one of my favorite replica pieces of the headpiece. My next acquisition of a headpiece, if I should ever get one, I would love a Raven Bar headpiece. I think that one's the best looking out of the lot. But for now, I'm very happy with this. Next, we have a Sankara stone. Now, I actually talked about the Sankara stone in my video on my trip to Colorado to visit Trent and Kirk Brockman. This was made by Kirk and gifted to Trent. And Trent gave this to me when I left Colorado. So it's very special, and I love carrying this around when I do Temple of Doom cosplay. It's just well done. Trent did actually give it a repaint, as this color underneath was the original color that Kirk had given it. It's actually made from Play-Doh or mold putty, I think, and it's molded around an Easter egg. So I love that knowledge, but I think it's fantastic. I love it to bits, and it's easily one of my most prized replicas. However, being the Crusader I am, I need a Holy Grail. And once again, Connor was the man to do that. I almost forgot. There's an adventure that we always talk about, but only when we're at Disneyland. And that's Temple of the Forbidden Eye. And Connor, there's a lot of stuff about Connor in this video, but he's a very ingenuitive and wonderful prop maker. And for my birthday this year, he gifted me with this excellent map to the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. This is wonderful. He printed it out, he aged the paper, he beat it up, he burned it, and I can't tell you how much I love owning this. I actually carry it around in my satchel. It was originally sitting here on my indie shelf, but it felt more at home in the satchel. There's a lot of really wonderful detail here, and I just love the way that Connor presented it to me, because there's a envelope on my shelf that it came in, which he made it look like it came from Sala. And I just, yeah. I love this map. I love the presentation in which it was given to me. And I am still so very grateful for such a wonderful birthday gift, Connor. Thank you. But the one that I'm really excited to talk about, again, is this Holy Grail replica that he 3D printed and then painted. And I just love the way that this looks. I think it looks fantastic. The weight is really nice. That gold leaf is perfect, in my opinion. And I am just floored. I love getting to carry this around when I do my Last Crusade gear loadout. And as a Last Crusade fan, to have the Cup of a Carpenter. Having a replica is one thing, but having a replica made by a friend, like with the Sankara stone, it makes it invaluable. It makes it priceless. And every time I get to look at this on my indie shelf, I smile. So thank you, Connor. I love this to death. And fortune and glory, kid. Now, there's one last piece that I'd like to share. And it's not a piece of gear, and it's not a relic. Well, not a historical relic. Well, it's a historical relic, but not the kind that you might think of when indie goes searching for it. This is a piece of 35mm footage. Specifically, this is 35mm footage from the original teaser trailer of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And this was gifted to me on my birthday by my good buddy Daniel Reiser. He had several of his own, and he contacted the seller and was curious if he still had any more. To which he did, and he sent this out. I still can't believe that I actually get to hold this and that it's part of my collection. It's very special. Looking at this and knowing that audiences saw it, this was how people were introduced to Indiana Jones. It blows my mind. And as Belloc would say, this is history. And so that brings us to the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed watching. This was way too much fun to make. I love getting to talk about Indiana Jones gear, but I love getting to talk about the best that this community has to offer. Whether it's people like US Wings making incredible jackets, or Spade Archer Leather making holsters or bag straps, to fans like Connor making maps and grails and Smith & Wessons, 3D printing them, painting them. It just brings me no end of joy to see what the community does, because this community can create some really fantastic pieces. And moreover, I just love getting to share it with you all. So thank you. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. 51 days till Indy meets his destiny. But most importantly, fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory.